A lot of things in the entertainment industry, the gaming industry, and pretty much any industry gets canceled at one point. I've always found canceled media and the story and reasoning for scrapping some of these projects very fascinating. So that's what I want to talk about today in this video. Shows that were canceled, but there's a little bit of a twist here. This isn't a list of shows that got canceled just because they had really low ratings, because if we did that, we would be here all day. And you can only talk about Invader Zim getting canceled for so long. No, the shows that will be on this list were canceled for other reasons, or reasons put out by some of the staff on board some of these projects that I find kind of interesting. Before we get into this list, I'd like to thank my two contributors to this video, Bedhead Bernie and our friend Sai, for their input while constructing some of the entries. Respective links to their work and social medias down below. Starting off with one of MTV's lesser appreciated shows is the Canadian animated Clone High. Clone High actually was a really funny show made by writers, producers, lovers, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The show was about a bunch of historical figures cloned and put inside a high school, and drama and hijinks would surely ensue. The show to me had a really interesting concept. They could have made for this show having a really good length of episodes, with endless parodies of historical figures in high school and pop culture. Along with the show having really great comedy, the show also had really good art. It's very uncommon for a show being targeted for adults having really good art, so this is kind of hard to come by. But the show was ultimately canceled. But why exactly? Was it due to low ratings? Well, yes. The show wasn't a smash hit, to be frank. Its ratings were kind of abysmal. The low ratings wasn't a contributor to the show's demise, but what really got the show canceled was the angry mob of Indians in India going on a hunger strike in retaliation due to them not liking the show's portrayal of civil rights activist Mahatma Gandhi. The show already looked like it was a failure in the eyes of the executives of MTV, so why get your blood on your hands for making a show that's not making you any revenue? It was kind of like the easiest decision for them to make. Just cut ties with this show that's not doing anything. So they just canned it. So they can blame all of India for this one, guys. Wait a minute, Young Justice is coming back to Netflix. It's not canceled, you fucking idiot. Young Justice technically isn't canceled now that Netflix has taken the show's rotted corpse and stretched out its bones, but it was canceled, and the reasoning behind it was actually pretty interesting. Young Justice lasted from November 26, 2010 to spring 2013 to rave reviews from viewers and reviewers, with many saying that this show is the most impressive superhero show in a while, with some even saying they might like it as much as the 2014 Titans series. That's some pretty high praise. So why did it get canceled? The reason the show was canceled was because of an unspeakable evil that plagues the earth. Women. Yes, women ruin Young Justice just like they ruined humanity. I kid, but to some sources, DC do say girls did play an effect in the success of Young Justice. Young Justice wasn't getting very good viewership from little boys, i.e. the target audience, but girls were, however, somewhat were watching some of these shows DC were putting out at the time. The network executives at Warner Brothers didn't want this because what little girl was gonna buy a superhero Young Justice toy? And this wasn't just a rumor spread by some rando. It actually came from a DC alumni writer, Paul Dini, a writer who has been credited for writing countless Batman stories in the highly regarded animated series. He says this in one of Kevin Smith's podcasts. You know, the fat guy with the hockey jersey and hasn't made like a good movie in years and still wears fucking jorts.
And now the trend has gone back. It's like superheroes are funny. And because they're all for boys, we do not want the girls. I mean, I've heard executives say this, you know, not where I am, but at other places, saying like, we do not want girls watching these shows.
Why? That's 51% of the population.
They don't buy toys. The girls buy different toys. The girls may watch the shows.
So you can sell them T-shirts if they don't. A, I disagree. I think girls buy toys as well. Maybe not as many as fucking boys do, but B, sell them something else, man. Like that, just don't be lazy and be like, well, I can't sell a girl a toy. Sell them a T-shirt, man. Sell them a fucking umbrella with a fucking character on it, something like that. But like, if it's not a toy, there's something else you could sell them. Like, just because you can't figure out your job, don't kill chances of like something that's going to reach an audience. Like that, it's just so self-defeating when people go like, these are the same fuckers go, oh, girls don't read comics. The girls aren't into comics. It's all self-fulfilling prophecies. They just make it that way by going like, I can't sell them a toy. What's the point?
That's the thing. And I hate being Mr. Sour Grapes here, but I'll just lay it on the line. That's the thing that got us canceled on Tower Prep. Honest to God was, it's like, we need boys, but we need girls right there, right? One step behind the boys. This is the network talking. One step behind the boys, not as smart as the boys, not as interesting as the boys, but right there. And then we began writing stories that got into the two girls' backstories, and they were really interesting. And suddenly we had families and girls watching and girls really became a big part of our audience in sort of like they picked it up that Harry Potter type of serialized way, which is why the Batman in boarding school is really going to kill.
Right.
But the Cartoon Network was saying, fuck no, we want boys action. It's boys action and it's goofy boy humor. And we got to get that in there. And we can't. And I'd say, but look at the numbers. We've got parents watching with the families. And then they break it down. Yeah, but we've got too many girls. We need more boys.
That's heartbreaking.
And then that's why they canceled us and they put on a show called Level Up, which is, goofy, nerds, fighting CG monsters. It's like, we don't want the girls because the girls won't buy toys. We had a whole merchandise line for Tower Prep that they shit canned before it ever got off the launching pad, because it's like, boys buy the little spinny tops. They buy the action figures. Girls buy princesses. We're not selling princesses.
Greg Weisman, co-creator of Young Justice, denies this statement by Dini and cites that girls watching the show didn't really have any factor in the show's cancellation. Which I guess I'd be more inclined to listen to the co-creator, but then again, he could be lying because saying girls ruin Young Justice doesn't sound good for his PR. In 2016, Weisman said in the podcast The Hip Hop Nerd that the show was canceled because of mega toy corporation Mattel. The company responsible for such toys as Barbies and Transformers. The show would receive funding through a toy deal Young Justice made with Mattel. With the toys selling like other shit, the toy line was actually discontinued, and essentially pulling most of the funding of the entire series. So with no real money coming in, the show just died. They had no money to make any more episodes. So not only did we get a canceled series, we got like a canceled toy line ready.
But it really has nothing to do with that. The reason it wasn't picked up for a third season is really simple. I'm not saying there weren't other factors. I'm sure there were, but it really comes down to one economic factor, which is that what paid for the show was money that we got from Mattel, the toy company. Okay. And Mattel felt that the Young Justice toy line was a failure. They canceled the line. And when they canceled the line, suddenly there was no money to make the show, and it's that straightforward. We could talk about whether people knew about the toys, whether they were promoted well. We could make all these sort of arguments, but at the end of the day, the toy line failed, the money dried up, no show.
Thankfully, due to all the fan interest, Young Justice will return next year in 2018 for Netflix. So again, it's not truly canceled, but I found this story to be interesting, so I shared it for those who didn't know already. SWAT Cats, one of the more well-known shows that people point out to being canceled. The reason why the show got pulled was because it was way too violent for TV, and you'd be half correct. The show was too violent for TV, but I'll get to that. But the real reason was because of the merchandising. In a still viewable Reddit thread of the Tremblay Bros Studios, Tremblay being the creator and brothers, Christian and Yvonne Tremblay, responding to a curious fan, clearing up certain things about the cancellation of SWAT Cats. The brothers say the following. 1. The official reason the show is canceled is that the timing between the merchandising being out late affected the bottom line of the financial, i.e. the money HB was making. Remember, the series cost many millions to produce, all financed by Hasbro. 2. Now, why the merchandising was out late is because Ted Turner announced to Congress that what his TV station are producing, there won't be any violence. This is in 1994, about in time where all the broadcasters pointed out violence on TV. At the same, here we were producing SWAT Cats with helicopters crashing and the walls exploding. So the show, before it was aired, was some kind of hot and sensible issue the executives had to navigate with, which at the end result in being late in the coordination of the series coming out and the toys falling way late after that. 3. No, it does not affect anything we are doing now because you dear fans keep it alive. Thanks, by the way, you all. So the merchandise screwed them by being late, and Ted Turner trying not to piss off Congress double screwed them. So SWAT Cats never really got a fair shot, but thankfully thanks to very eager fans, the brothers were able to get the Kickstarter for the new SWAT Cats animation, which will be like 2 minutes, but if it looks impressive enough, it maybe get picked up by a producer or something. You never know.
Let's bring in our next guest, comedian Louis C.K., whom some might describe as an aficionado of masturbation, a man who is well known for being a prolific masturbator, who even brags about it Is that fair to say, Louis?
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the most recent canceled TV shows is the upcoming TBS series, The Cops. There's very little info on this show, all we have is a short little piece of animation, and so far this is what we released to the public of what the plot would be like. And the synopsis of the series barely is even a sentence, but this will have to do. The Cops is a show about a pair of cops struggle to protect and serve the citizens of Los Angeles. Well, that was a really exciting synopsis. So why was this show canceled? It wasn't even able to get its first breath in. Welp. It's not the fault of the show actually, the content, or the merchandising, it's who's attached to the project. You see, in 2017, Bigger Than Life itself film producer Harvey Weinstein blew the lid off of multiple claims of allegations of sexual harassment in Hollywood and male Hollywood celebrities. Since then, a multitude of men in Hollywood's dirty laundry was thrown out for the entire world to see. And some of these guys were people that you really thought were awesome actors, but turned out to be big pieces of shit. Like Kevin Spacey, who tried to forcibly have sex on a young child actor back in the 80s, which he tried to cover up or just something. I have no clue what his thought process was when he admitted that he was gay in the same letter. Like, it's okay, dude, you can like guys, I don't care, but you still tried to play hide and seek with the kid's butthole, you can't do that. A lot of these claims are still dropping right now as this video is being made, and the one that affected this show has to do with the comedian and masturbator Louis C.K. Louis's name was all over this project. Not only did he star in this as one of the lead roles, but he was also the creator and the executive producer. TBS probably doing the best thing for their bottom line, they cut ties with the project and pretty much anything to do with Louis C.K., just like FX did as well. Now this show being cancelled has had many effects. One, what was the new TBS adult animated show campaign just lost one of its shows, so now instead of 4 adult animated series, we get 3. I'm sure the other 3 will be good, but now we just lost an adult animated show for a rather stupid reason. And adult animation is really hard to come by. 2, we possibly missed out on a potentially good series. Now I'm not gonna lie, Louis C.K.'s comedy isn't for everyone. Some people find him funny, and some people find his sense of humor to be really unfunny and just annoying. But in my opinion, I found it to be quite funny. I like some of his projects he wrote on. I like the FX series Louis, which I'm pretty sure is fucked to hell, so you screwed me out of 2 shows today, Mr. Louis C.K. So this could have been a funny show. Though I will point out all of these upcoming shows, this was the weakest, mostly because the trailer TBS put out didn't really show much of anything from this show, and it's just 2 guys sitting in a car and a guy lying on a bed. Also, not too big on the actual art of the show, just gonna be honest. Just from the little I've seen, it doesn't really look that interesting. But while on the subject of art, let's talk about the artists of this show. The biggest and most infuriating thing to come out of this controversy was because of Louis C.K., many artists, directors, animators, pretty much the whole staff got laid off because of him. And let me just say, some of these artists were not really happy about this situation not having a job anymore. And art director of the show, Francis, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name, wrote this on the box of his office that he had to pack up because of Louis C.K. on his Facebook page. My name is Francis Gigolo, and I was the art director in your animated show, The Cops. I am writing to you today to give a voice to another group of people affected by your actions. The amazingly talented crew on The Cops that has been tirelessly working hard to create a unique primetime animated show. We now find ourselves out of a job right before the holidays. So many of us are frantically looking for a new project to jump on, myself included, as my wife stays home with our 3-year-old daughter, and I always want to take care of them. However, here's the biggest point. All the stress and frustration that I find myself in now is nothing compared to the pain and distress you have caused those women. I will happily walk away from this project and any other project to fully support anyone that needs to come forward about sexual abuse or harassment. So good job, Louis. You know, I was kind of looking forward to watching all of these shows on TBS. Thanks. I hope you go blind with all that masturbating.
3, 2, 1.
Got a blast!
Yes, our meme king Jimmy Neutron was canceled for a rather strange reason. But how could this be? Jimmy Neutron, I remember being liked by a lot of kids. Sure, maybe it would have ended someday, but straight up canceled? For one of Nick's at the time most successful show other than SpongeBob? Yeah, it was just fucking canned. Not for low ratings, not for a controversial subject of any of the creators or any person on the staff did. The studio just straight up died. DNA Productions, the studio is known for,
Hi, I'm Paul.
pretty much just Jimmy Neutron. They don't really have a grand backing of great memorable stuff, to be honest, unless you like all of the other reindeer. So what made DNA Productions die? The production of Ant Bully. Remember Ant Bully from like 2006, the movie about a kid who gets bullied in real life, so basically he repeats the cycle of violence, not to like a loved one or a younger sibling, but to a bunch of defenseless ants to feel superior. Kinda really sad when you say that out loud. Typically in these situations, you take up like Taekwondo or something so you can break the kid's trachea. But hey, killing ants is a way for some people to get their anger out, so I guess go ahead then. So this little loser destroys ants to feel better about himself, and the ants one day just get so tired of his shit and make up a potion and shrink him down to the size of an ant. And this kid later learns that, man, I was being a real big asshole to these smaller creatures, and learns that ants have feelings too. Ant Bully was honestly an okay movie. It's been like a decade since I watched it, but I remember it being quite enjoyable. I've always had like a big interest in bugs and things that were really small, and how these small creatures perceive us humans. Reasons why I think I really like Toy Story and Small Soldiers. Ant Bully had the budget of $50 million and was distributed by Legendary and Warner Bros. Pictures. The movie in total at the box office made around $55 million. Now to some that would seem like, oh, it broke even, so that's a net gain around like $5 million. That's not true. Marketing sometimes isn't put into the budget of a film, and it doesn't take an expert to tell you that putting up commercials, trailers, posters, website, computer ads, t-shirts, and distributing toys isn't really that cheap. That's why, and at this point it feels like I'm punching down now, the Ghostbusters reboot was such a colossal failure. It made back its budget, yeah, but including marketing? No. Plus, it's Ghostbusters. Like, Ghostbusters is like, you're supposed to make like $500 million. When you're a gigantic, iconic film franchise, you're supposed to make like almost $500 million. So Ant Bully actually had to get quite above $50 million in budget. Not even big name actors like Julia Roberts, Meryl Streep, Paul Giamatti, and prime meme Nick Cage could save this movie. So the studio died, and the planned season 4 of Jimmy Neutron was lost. And that's a shame, because some of the ideas that have leaked from Jimmy Neutron season 4 sounded completely awful. So Jimmy Neutron season 4 was going to be the darkest of the entire series. Yes, Dark Jimmy Neutron. Apparently there was going to be something again going on with Evil Jimmy, and the new season would have explored the relationship with Cindy and Jimmy a lot more, making them an official couple in the series canon. This on paper sounds awful. I can't imagine really Dark Jimmy Neutron. Just saying that sounds completely retarded. Dark Jimmy Neutron. I especially can't take that seriously, being that the show looks like this, and plus with all the hundreds of memes of Jimmy Neutron, that ship has sailed and will never come back. The last thing we saw from Jimmy Neutron was the Chrysler ads that looks really weird with these HD models interacting with real life cars. Also, that really creepy face Jimmy gives to the camera after he looks at Cindy is very disturbing. And Planet Sheen, a spin-off no one really asked for, but it happened. According to the wiki, it just says Planet Sheen started off as a show about a fast food person crashing on an alien planet, and the Nick executive said no, that sounds stupid. So all they really did was just change the main guy into Sheen and added Carl. But for some reason, the executives were really protective over Carl, but not Sheen. Like, that's a little fucked up now that I think about it. Like, what are they doing with Carl that's so important, but not with Sheen? So that's why there's like a green alien that's literally fucking Carl, which just raises more questions like, how are you gonna have a green alien but just make him Carl? Just fucking make it Carl! Also, there's like details of like Sheen becoming a double agent, but they scrapped that because it sounded too much like James Cameron's Avatar. There's a lot of like juicy Planet Sheen trivia out there that I can shout at you, but I'm tired and this is getting really stupid. So Ant Bully killed Jimmy Neutron, but since it was a popular show back in the day and Nick is scrounging for ideas and weaponizing nostalgia, I can see Jimmy Neutron getting a reboot in like next week or month or 3 months or year if they haven't done so already.